Hey folks, welcome back to the Q Shed Backyard Barbecue. Today is the 4th of July. So happy Independence Day to everyone, and I appreciate you joining us. It's also Pork Belly Day around here, which is one of my favorite things in the world of barbecue. We're going to do it in the form of pork belly burnt ends, you might call them. I'll show you how I prepare them here in just a moment. And we're going to cook them on my Cascade Smokers custom Q Deville. Okay, so we're going to get the pork belly trimmed up and prepped and ready to go on the cooker. What we're working with is a 12.2 pound whole pork belly that I actually bought a couple of months ago, put it in the freezer, and just pulled it out about 3 days ago, put it in the refrigerator, and it's thawed, obviously, by now. So we'll be back in just a second. We'll get it trimmed up and get it ready to go on the cooker. Okay, so it's time to finally take a look at what we're working with. This is a whole pork belly, as I said, a little over 12 pounds. And there's a little trimming to do. I don't do a lot with these. You can see this is the meat side, the fat side here. The skin is off of this one, which is the way I like to work with them. But there is a nice layer of fat, which I'm going to leave 100% intact. It's not like a brisket that you want to remove some fat. Fat is part of every bite of pork belly. That's what makes it so rich and delicious. So anyway, I am going to take some of the nasty bits and trim them off. There's quite a bit of silver skin here in this area, as you can see. So to the degree possible, you want to get that off without removing too much meat, certainly. It'll be a little tricky to do. A little patience, just hang with it. And as you can see too, it'll sort of peel if you pull on it and kind of want to come off. So makes it a little easier. That's all the trimming I'm going to do to this side, and as I said, the fat side I'm not even going to touch. So that's it. That is all the trimming we're going to do to this pork belly. Next, what I'm going to do, because I mentioned that this is going to be a burnt-in style pork belly, what I mean by that is rather than cooking it whole, which I've done, which turns out delicious, I'm going to cut this up into squares, roughly 1.5 inch squares, ahead of time, and cook them that way throughout the cook. The beauty of that is you get 360-degree smoke and rub all around each delicious chunk of pork belly. So kind of a riff on the brisket point burnt end, if you will. So with that in mind, I'm going to start cutting it in strips here. Okay. And some will be bigger than others. I don't sweat it too much. Okay. Okay, so we've got the whole pork belly cut up into cubes now, or what will become burnt ends, if you will. And a lot of fat to each piece, as you can see, some more than others. That's okay. That will render down. What doesn't render down is 100% edible and absolutely delicious. So you can see they're all different shapes and sizes, and that's fine too, as I mentioned before. Next, we're going to put these chunks on a rack like this, wire rack, because it makes it easier to transport it to and from the cooker. Okay, so before we put them on the wire racks, I am going to put the rub on them. And today, the rub I'm using is very simple. It is salt and pepper, 50-50 kosher salt, coarse ground black pepper, with a little garlic granules in there. And that's it. I'm not putting brown sugar or paprika or anything else I have done in the past on these. Okay, so what we've got here is, in my opinion at least, a thing of beauty. They are sectioned out, they're seasoned with our salt, pepper, and garlic mixture, and on the wire racks, and they're ready to move out to the cooker, which is coming up to temp. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a quick peek at the fuel setup I have for this cook. So again, this is my Cascade Smokers custom Q Deville, and I've got my charcoal set up in kind of an L shape here. So I've got a small chimney of coals. These are actually leftover coals from previous cook where I cooked a brisket. So I rake them together, and what's reusable, of course, I reuse. And so that's what I've got in the small chimney here. So when these get up and rolling, I am going to pour them over here in this corner where it's empty, and it will work its way toward the end of the snake of coals. I don't anticipate for the pork belly cook using any more than about to here. It's very efficient in terms of how much charcoal it uses. So anyway, just wanted to let you know. Oh, and the wood chunks that you see here, they're all about this size, small chunks. Some are a little bigger, but they're pecan, my favorite go-to all-around wood. I also like apple a lot with something like pork belly, but today it's pecan. So we'll see you here in a bit when we get the meat on. All right, so it's time to get these pork belly burnt ends to be on the cooker. So again, you can see how easy the wire racks make it to move these smaller cuts of meat to and from the cooker and so forth. So I'm going to get it closed up because leaving this thing open for too long creates a big air draft and temperature spikes. Don't want to do that. So you can see my ambient probe here right in the middle. I'm going to get it closed up. Probe was running right about 246 degrees when I opened it up to put it on. We'll see where it settles. I've got one of my two brass ball valve intakes closed completely, the other about half open, and I've got my stack on top about half open as well. So for right now that seems to be good. I can tweak it if I need to. Okay, so we're a little over 2 hours into this pork belly cook, and it's time to open her up and see what we've got going on. So as you can see, we've got good color going. Not that brown color I want yet, a nice deep red color. I'm going to give them a spritz here. This is 50-50 apple cider vinegar and water with a little hot sauce thrown in for good measure. They don't look dry really, just because I'll make sure and keep them spritz. Okay, I'm going to get it closed back up so that we don't spike our temps, but so far so good. You can see they're kind of plumping up. Which is to be expected as that fat renders. So I'm going to get it closed back up and let them cook. Okay, so we're about 3.5 hours into this pork belly cook, and I'm thinking they're going to be ready to move to the next phase now. We'll open it up and take a look to make sure, and then we'll see what that next phase is. Okay, so you can see it was about an hour ago that we opened it last time, and they're much darker now, darker red. The bark's nice and set on there, it's not coming off. Yeah, we're going to move to the next stage. Okay, so that next phase I've been talking about is to get these pork belly burn ends tender, and the way we're going to do that, as you can see, they good color on them. A lot of that fat has rendered. It'll continue to do so. Okay, but the next stage is to put them in a pan with some other ingredients to change the flavor profile a bit and to tenderize them even more than they otherwise would be. So those other ingredients I was talking about, I want to add more fat, of course, so I'm going to put some butter. Okay, there we go. To start with, this is just golden brown sugar. My family secret recipe homemade barbecue sauce. Some of that. You hear the sirens in the background. They're not coming after me. That's a little 4th of July parade they do in the neighborhood for kids. Okay, so I'm going to stir these up a bit. A little more sauce. And last step, a little more brown sugar. Get these covered with foil now, get them back in the cooker for it's a little over an hour probably, then pull them out and uncover them, allow them to tack up a bit, and they ought to be ready to eat. We'll see you back in a few. Okay, so these pork belly burnt ends have been covered in this braising liquid of butter, brown sugar, barbecue sauce, and honey for about an hour and a half or so, and they are plenty tender. I mean, they are just absolutely pork marshmallows at this point. So now I'm going to put them on individual racks and put them back in for probably about another 45 minutes or so until it's time for dinner, and that's going to tighten the sauce up a little bit, just make them more the consistency that I want. So be able to get them all in one rack here. I think I can. We'll get them back on the cooker and be back when they're finished. Okay, so here's the finished product. We have these delicious looking pork belly burnt ends. Again, just to recap, we did them for about 4 hours or so in the smoke, and then we put them in foil pans covered in braising liquid consisting of butter, brown sugar, honey, and barbecue sauce for about another hour and a half, and then we pulled them out for the last hour or so in the smoke again, just to sort of tack up. So they look really good. I'm going to cut one in half and try them here. Oh, they are super soft, super juicy. Time to try it. Thing about pork belly, it literally melts in your mouth. People think there's so much fat. The way the fat renders down and how sweet it is, especially with the braising liquid that we did, it's indescribable. I mean, it really, brisket point is great. This may be the single best bite of barbecue that you can have. This is so rich, so delicious. It really is a treat. I haven't done it in a while, too long. Anyway, really enjoyed this cook. Always love doing pork belly. Please give it a try. Let me know down in the comments below if you have any questions at all about what I did. But take care, and happy 4th of July to everyone.